Civic SI. The Society for the Preservation of Type Rs would like to take the next few minutes to appreciate and welcome this young Civic to its new loving home in Canada. More than any other Type R pedigree, the EP3s are the victims of ownership, abuse and battery, castration and part out, and negative branding. And this is a shame because the EP3 Civic Type R is significantly more of a car than the sum of its parts sold separately. Driven as a whole, complete, original car, it is a great experience. It is larger and more comfortable than the previous Type R. From the factory, it's quicker than its predecessor, makes amazing noises, and handles like it's on rails. In Canada, if you're interested in getting a Type R, you can go to a dealership and buy a brand new one. Or you can look at importing a DC2 or an EK9. Both those older 90s Rs have seen an incredible surge in value over the past several years, and you can expect to pay between double and quadruple an EP3 price for comparable or collectible examples. Cars that are being half-cut for parts because they are so underappreciated as a whole obviously aren't at their peak in value or appreciation. And I imported on the assumption that I may not have justification or business motivation to import an EP3 as appreciation started to kick in over the years. Right now these cars are relatively cheap, relative to the EK9 or the DC2, or financing a current model Type R. While they may not achieve collectible greatness breaking original MSRP in value like immaculate DC2s or EK9s, these cars aren't going to remain valued like a sum of parts from a wrecker as they continue to age, crash, and get chopped in half and become endangered. Trying an EP3R at its most depreciated point seemed like a good, low-risk time to do it. This generation Civic has really nice lines for the most underappreciated Civic hatch out there. You can easily throw red badging, decals, skirts, and a spoiler on an SI or an SIR, but when you take a moment to admire the original tuned JDM package in championship white, the effect is one of understated aggression and competence with its low, wide stance, short wheelbase, and effective use of dimensions. There's a Union Jack on the back because even the JDM Type Rs came out of production in Swindon, at Honda of the UK, as the VIN plate clearly points out. There are subtle details like the raised Type R lettering on the calipers, fog lights, rear privacy glass, and parking mirrors that cosmetically distinguish this from its UK counterpart. Inside, it gets harder to fake. When I was hunting for one to import, finding the original red Recaros in halfway decent shape was a challenge. Typically, if the seats are original, there is bolster wear, lots of it. If the odometer reads anywhere north of 100,000 kilometers, then you might be looking at a worn-out driver's mat, and the leather-wrapped wheel might be showing some age. The Japanese models are numbered. Marked Type R in the cluster, and these fancy metal plates bolted to the front floor mats. The shift knob is another item that folks like to steal, so this original shifter was something I didn't want to have to shop for. Aside from the obvious indicators that this is a Type R, the EP3 has really clean, ergonomically efficient, and minimalist lines. There are no extra buttons or switches in here, zero infotainment, no traction control instruction, or sunroof switches. If you don't want to look at cup holders, slide the cover over them. If you need an extra cup holder, it's discreetly way the heck out of your way. There's absolutely no need to crack open a handbook before driving this car. Subtlety and understated functionality was clearly one of Honda's goals with the EP3 Civic. Look at where the rear glass washer nozzle sits. But if the EP3 was too subtle for your tastes, Honda offered dress-up options, even some choice child seats if you needed them, and there are endless ways to make EP3s louder and less discreet. The look and feel come together amazingly well when you're driving this car. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour happens somewhere just past 6 seconds. Short gearing encourages you to stay in higher RPM ranges. Being hugged by the Recaro really helps keep you planted and cornering. The Japanese EP3R has a helical LSD, something that wasn't offered in the European Type R. Because the gearing is fairly close ratio in the JDM car, if you're driving gently around the city, you wind up shifting up and down a lot. Also unique to the Japanese Type R is the K20 engine. The Japanese Type R is more track-oriented, more horsepower than the Euro version, with a smoother transition into high RPM than the previous generation Civic. If you aren't used to driving a Type R, and I was not, revving up past 6 or 7,000 RPM does seem strange and loud at first, but below the high rev ranges, the EP3 behaves and sounds fairly normal. Braking past 6,000 RPM, where Vtec kicks in, is where things get kinda nuts.
Directions. And Vtec, 7,000 RPM.
No, not smoking tire nuts, because Mr. Fair was actually in the significantly watered down US market variant. Actual nuts. Loud, fast, dynamic, and demanding a lot of attention. This is where people get excited, and if you stay in the high RPM, the car behaves totally different, with a hectic new power band after the crossover. You're suddenly a boy racer and understand why the gear shift is way up there on the dash, 10 centimeters from the steering wheel. Would I buy another? Probably, but there are some other Type Rs I want to try first.
Nice minivan, friend. Did it come from England? Not England, no. That's a cute little microcar you have there. I'll give you $1,200 for those seats. Still have the single jingle in there, bro? You should K-swap. I'll give you $3,300 for yours. Take your classic car and two-step out of here.
Civic diplomacy, as you can see, has fallen on hard times of late. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the EP3.